And the journalist Amina Taylor joins me to share her thoughts on this. Many thanks to you, Amina Taylor, for joining us. Now, very interesting. The Prince and Duchess are on the news once again. This time for desire to pull back from their roles as the royals and the royal family. Let us get your reaction to that and how Britons are reacting to that announcement.
Well, first of all, I think it's no abdication crisis here. I'm, of course, speaking about the Wallis Simpson situation when another member of the royal family married an American, and we ended up with this push-pull over what should happen next. We have a situation where essentially the spare, because Prince William is the official heir and his children follow suit, someone who, as your reporter mentioned there, is sixth in line to the throne, finds himself in this really curious position where he's scrutinized, sometimes vilified, including, his choice of bride here, but without a real role, a real purpose, ambassadorial things, being a figurehead, but without having that final say. And I think in some quarters, this is being seen as a refreshing decision, something that a member of the team that you spoke to there on the street talked about the fact that they didn't know you were able to essentially resign from the royal family, but it's not gone down in certain quarters perhaps as positively. Let me just read you a quote from a broadcaster here, a very high profile broadcaster, Piers Morgan, who said, "Why the Queen must fire their royal hustlers, deluded Meghan and Harry should be stripped of their titles before this pair of gasping, selfish, scheming Kardashian wannabes bring down the monarchy." So if this is supposed to convince Harry and Meghan that they perhaps made a mistake and should come back into the fold, I think there is a miscalculation of the highest order, because just last year, some of your viewers may recall that 70 members of parliament, 70 female MPs, drafted a letter in solidarity to the newspapers about the way in which Meghan was being treated. They talked about some of the colonialist undertones, i.e. the racism that was being piled on top of this woman.
And I was going to ask you, I was going to ask you about that, because she seems to be taking the heat the most for this. This is a decision made by both of them, but it looks like she's the one taking the hit. Why do you think that Meghan is always painted not so beautifully in British media? Is it about cultural difference?
It's about the fact that she's a woman of color. Let's not mince our words here. Let's call a spade a spade. This is someone who had to defend the fact that when she left the hospital with her newborn, a very high-profile BBC reporter put on his personal page an image of a monkey and saying, "The royal baby leaves hospital." How else could you capture this sentiment? How else could you speak about this abuse in terms that are not as flattering? I mean, if we look at the comparison in the way in which Catherine Middleton, who is now the Duchess of Cornwall, how she was treated when she came into the fold, again, not from royal blood, someone who was considered a commoner. There were a few headlines, of course, about her gasping family and so on, but she's been left to get on with the job and to prove that she's a fitting member of quote-unquote the firm. Meghan hasn't had that because perhaps she dared to be a fully formed, independent woman who perhaps had the misfortune of falling in love with somebody who's from one of the oldest establishments on the planet. And we're talking here about somebody who must have decided after so much turbulence that it's time for us to cut and run.
I'm afraid we do have to leave it there. Very serious conversation, but we do have to leave it there. Amina Taylor, many thanks for your time.